Yo, what's up guys? It's Yeti here. So I recently made a video covering why, in my opinion, there should be no add-ons in World of Warcraft and why they are just bad for the game and in general. I think they're not accessible enough and, long story short, I made a lot of points in that video, but I was not really explaining things in a very long form format. I just made a video explaining why I think they are bad. And I got a lot of comments. If I'm honest, there were so many comments, I could never expect that. And I want to make some points today before going back to your comments and replying to some of the points you made. You guys made a lot of comments. Most of them were really good and really constructive. But before we jump into the comments, I just want you to keep some of the points in mind that I always have in my mind when I'm talking about World of Warcraft UI. First thing, I actually love customizing WoW UIs. I have used every add-on that you probably have heard of and used yourself in World of Warcraft. I'm a massive nerd when it comes to optimization, and I think that is the reason why I also made these videos and why I'm very critical of add-ons in World of Warcraft. I don't think having the ability to optimize your UI this much is good for the game. I don't think it's good for the competitive scene, and I don't think it's good for the new players. League of Legends, for example, is a competitive game. Settings there do not help you much at all to perform better or to get an edge above other people. It's only a preference thing. For example, the enemy champions in League of Legends have 4 different abilities, all of which have cooldowns. And if you're an experienced player, you will be able to track those cooldowns almost perfectly to almost a second, purely by playing the game a lot and by the feel. Final Fantasy is an MMORPG very similar to World of Warcraft that has rating, and it does not have deadly boss mods, does not have big wigs, does not have timers or weak auras or anything. All of that is still possible in a very, very difficult game when it comes to raiding with long and difficult encounters. I think that procs, dots, and other things in World of Warcraft that pop up should be something that players should track themselves. You should have the ability to see the buffs and debuffs on either nameplates or on some other area on the screen, and you should be the one tracking that. Not that, when it gets low, there's a horn sound going off or something, or there's a massive center of screen icon popping up and you just reapply the dot. I think that should be player skill. And I also want to just make you keep in mind that in 2010, there was a very famous YouTuber streamer that is still active nowadays called Kripparrian. I watched his videos and I will show you some quick clips from his videos where he is playing World of Warcraft, rating at the highest level with pretty much 0 optimization add-ons. Back in the days, the programmers and the players were not smart and creative enough with add-ons yet to create something that gives you such a massive competitive advantage, like weak auras popping up, auto assignments, using all kinds of super smart /say arguments in fights to completely negate certain mechanics. Players were, generally speaking, playing the game a lot more raw. They were using add-ons to give themselves more information. Most of that information was already adapted to the default World of Warcraft UI. Those are the points I wanted to tell you first before we get into the video, and now I'm going to read out some comments that I thought were very smart to go over and to have a conversation about. So comment number 1. What you ask for is called Final Fantasy XIV. Go play that if you despise add-ons so much. I have no problems with them. There is no argument to make about whether some people can't get them or don't know about it. Everybody can get every add-on. There is nobody in the world not being able to get add-ons. If you just play the game, people will tell you what add-ons you need or not. So these arguments are completely invalid. There is an argument to make about certain mechanics that require weak auras to even remotely succeed in a fight, like Ovinax Mythic, for example. There I can see an issue. If you don't use weak auras there, the fight is extremely hard and borderline impossible. I wouldn't advise banning add-ons over this. You started off the conversation with some very interesting arguments, and then you kind of approached me with a lot of the ideas I have. And that's why I actually respect this comment a lot. So first of all, you said that nobody cannot get an add-on, which is true. It is a program. Luckily, all of them they have to be free. I believe there are rules in Blizzard's whatever agreement when you log into World of Warcraft. When you also mention that there are fights that are literally impossible without add-ons, I think you get a lot closer to what I'm trying to say. I think that add-ons have gotten way too creative at solving fights or solving mechanics in real time for the player, and therefore there's a problem. Either Blizzard is balancing the whole game, thinking that, okay, everybody has timers and weak auras, we have to get more creative, we have to make fights harder for those with weak auras. Problem is that there is a small amount of players, well, it's actually a very high amount, but they're not the vocal ones. I think the amount of people that are actually rating Mythic is probably less than 1% of players in World of Warcraft, just to give you an idea. But most players that are doing normal and heroic probably don't have weak auras. They probably have timers, but weak auras almost for sure not. So those fights are insanely hard for them. And when Blizzard is balancing for this group A, the big group, the general players that have no ability to create weak auras, that are not reading forums or long guides, that are just experiencing the game firsthand. And then group B, the Mythic Raiders. I want to get cutting edge, or I want to get X or Y world rating in World of Warcraft. These people in the second category are entirely different. The way you balance the game for them is entirely different. And I think because we are all doing the same raid, sure, sometimes there are different difficulties, sometimes there's a mythic mechanic. Generally speaking, a lot of that overlaps. And you are trying to create one fight for too many different people. There's a massive trend that is happening in World of Warcraft where even the first couple of bosses on Mythic are not getting killed by that many players because they are getting harder. They are getting more complex and players just stopped trying. And one of those reasons is almost for sure the increasing difficulty, which is a result of players using too many weak auras and add-ons and other tools to help them in Mythic progression. Comment number 2. Removing timers while fights are still 100% scripted is a stupid solution because that would lead to even casual guilds raiding with 21 players, and one of those is just dedicated to watch at a time he started at pull and is reading the boss script down. And no one who ever played a Souls game or other games with RNG-based boss patterns wants this in World of Warcraft because that makes bosses impossible to balance. Very good comment, thank you for that. You are correct. RNG mechanics are generally speaking horrible for World of Warcraft, and there is a reason they are not in the game. However, I do not agree that if boss fights would be scripted the same way they are, there would be a guide or a person reading down those spells. Bosses should have ways of indicating incoming mechanics, their resources, maybe they're casting something. And generally speaking, if a fight is hard enough and you go through it like 5 or 6 times, you will already have a very good feeling of when a certain mechanic is coming. And I think you getting that natural vibe of the boss fight is a lot better for the game. I think that is how a player should experience this firsthand. Maybe they can watch a video beforehand. That's also okay. I don't think there would be a player calling things out and reading a script. Of course, maybe raid leaders would have a lot more work to do because they wouldn't just be reading weak auras, they would have to actually be active in the fight. I don't know if this would cause 21st raiding to be even more common than it is now, but do keep in mind that even right now, 21st man is very, very good and people already do it. So I think that these arguments that 21st raiding would be a result of the game removing add-ons, I don't think this is completely true, but I do understand what you're saying. Comment number 3. Not gonna lie, bro, but if you do mythic raids, you are not above average. You are the top 1% that keep the game alive. Average players are doing normal raids. Heroic raiders are above average. Yeah, you're actually correct. I just didn't want to sound like I'm too ignorant or bragging or whatever. Yes, you are 100% correct. I think the vast majority of players are doing normal. Heroics are already for above average players, while mythics are the tryhards that are able to spend 100+ hours every single season just raiding. Comment number 4. Typical elitist comment. Add-ons help players be able to play the game. It would be impossible to heal at a high level and mentally track 20 different things for most people. It's already hard enough to be able to track the add-ons itself. Would be only for the top 0.1% to do it in your head. I would likely quit playing WoW without add-ons. Blizzard cannot be trusted to make a good UI. Either they haven't been able to do so in 20 years. You are very, very correct about a lot of things you said here. I think healing has a unique problem when it comes to add-ons. I was a healer for most of my time in Mythic raiding, and I was using Grit too. I coded every single thing ground up. I made glow borders. I made all kinds of things in that add-on, and it was basically the reason I was able to parse really, really high. I think that, yes, healing is probably the role that requires the most add-ons specifically, and I think this should obviously be fixed by Blizzard. They did not do it for 20 years because they did not have to. Healers were almost always using some sort of third-party healing add-ons like Grid, Healbot, Voodoo, and nowadays people are using Cell. It's because these add-ons are being developed that Blizzard can just be lazy and not fix their actual Blizzard World of Warcraft raid frames for healers. Comment number 5. This opinion is like asking people to do all math work in your head instead of using calculators, lol. The former is simply not that fun for many people. And I don't think this is true. I think this is a similar argument to saying that easy classes should not exist or that only easy classes should exist. There are obviously things that are preferences. Some people prefer the content to be harder, for there to be a bigger strategic element to approaching bosses. People prefer to have more complex or easier rotations. This is not true. I think that generally speaking, if World of Warcraft would remove every single add-on from the game, they could make the balance of the game a lot better for the middle player, for the common guy, for most people. Of course, high-end players would find ways to optimize. They are already fighting bosses with lower item levels and before they get nerfed. I don't think there is a reason to create fights that are generally unbeatable without add-ons. Comment number 6. I get what you're saying, and I know your title is clickbait, but without add-ons, I would not physically be able to play World of Warcraft. The accessibility from the ones I use allow me to play. Unless Blizzard implements these, they won't, and if they do, they'll be half-assed. I would have to quit. Honestly, I agree with your comment. You are actually mentioning that you are relying mostly on the accessibility part, and you're not relying on the competitive edge you're getting from add-ons. And I generally agree with that. I think that whenever you are only using add-ons for accessibility, that is completely good and healthy for the game. I don't think accessibility has ever caused Blizzard to, tune a boss harder because they know that, this specific guild increase the font of their dots or something like that. That is not how I see things, and that's probably not how things are. So I think that, again, we have to go back to looking at rating videos from 2010, 2008, the golden times of World of Warcraft when it was absolutely massive. There were a lot of try-hard guilds already back then, and they were not using remotely as many add-ons as we are using now. Almost all of their add-ons were quality of life improvements, and I think that is what add-ons originally were. Now, I think it's time for Blizzard to fix their UI entirely and to get rid of add-ons. That's my opinion. I hope some of these things have cleared the idea of what I was trying to say in my last video. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.